From ancient biblical, Ayurvedic, and Chinese texts to more modern texts from the likes of George Carey, Walter Russell, and now modern peer-reviewed studies name this one substance the panacea for all human health. Asphaltum, mumio, the sand salt of the pineal gland, the literal kundalini rising, Shilajit, true Shilajit, not the so-called Himalayan coal Shilajit made in China, but nature-made Shilajit is the singular, most beneficial natural healing agent found on Earth. Shilajit is indeed the most venerated natural healing agent in human history. The purpose of this video is not to expound on the greatness of this incredible compound, but to provide the information necessary to be able to differentiate between what I call good, bad, and ugly Shilajit. Let's begin with what I define as ugly Shilajit. Shilajit that masquerades as pure and legit, but are either adulterated or are fully fake. First, any product sold as pure Shilajit, yet the product is not pure, is ugly Shilajit. Ugly Shilajit contains inorganic and organic fillers such as glucose, other sugars, fruit paste, oils, bark extracts, and ammonia to mimic real nature-made Shilajit. Secondly, ugly Shilajit is not Shilajit found and harvested from the sides of high mountain cliffs, but rather a manufactured extraction. Manufacturers and sellers call it Shilajit, but is it truly Shilajit? Natural cliffside Shilajit cannot be replicated in a lab, and certainly cannot be manufactured. This is where the labeling games begin. Cliff harvested Shilajit contains an ingredient called fulvic acid, and this acid is a primary beneficial ingredient in natural Shilajit. Ugly Shilajit also technically, legally, contains fulvic acid. However, this acid is made from brown coal and extracted using a process that requires caustic chemicals such as hydrochloric acid, lye, and is heated to over 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. Unlike nature-made Shilajit, ugly Shilajit, unless added post-production, contains no living substances, no peptides, no amino acids, no vitamins, no nature-balanced humic components that make Shilajit Shilajit. There are makers of fulvic acid who apply clean methods of extraction from humic soils, but this type of fulvic acid is not used to make ugly Shilajit. Ugly, coal-based Shilajit is very cheap and represents 85 to 90% of all so-called Himalayan Shilajit sold worldwide. And unsurprisingly, 99% of the world's coal extracted fulvic acid is manufactured in, I think you can guess where. Shilajit has been accused by some as being laden with dangerous levels of heavy metals. Yet, in our testing of over 30 samples of properly purified Shilajit from the Himalaya, Altai, Hindu Kush, and Rocky Mountains, all have very safe levels of heavy metals. With coal-based ugly Shilajit, if not classified as and proven to be food grade, can be very dangerous indeed, as coal is laden with heavy metals. Unless the manufactured compounds have been processed further to remove lead, arsenic, cadmium, mercury, etc., ugly Shilajit can actually cause heavy metal buildup in the body, which, by the way, is the exact opposite to the removal of heavy metals documented in clinical studies of nature-made Shilajit. On to bad Shilajit. Bad Shilajit is actually good, cliffside nature-made Shilajit, but purified and processed badly. Bad Shilajit is traditionally processed in the local mountains of India and Pakistan, the primary suppliers of real Himalayan Shilajit worldwide. It must be noted that Shilajit has been traditionally processed in the Himalayas and the Altai Mountains for over 4,000 years and used to heal and uplift health with lauded success. It's not to be feared. What I call bad Shilajit is generally not dangerous and is certainly recommended over any type of ugly Shilajit. Bad Shilajit is typically processed and purified in manners that leave questionable solid elements, leading to purity issues and inconsistent quality outcomes. Heat is applied to speed the separation of Shilajit from the exudate, or raw rock, and to shorten the time to make Shilajit paste. The liquefied Shilajit is filtered using a cloth muslin of sorts, then is boiled to a paste prior to packaging. This type of Shilajit is called atashi, and the heat, while it does reduce the overall efficacy potential, still retains certain valuable living ingredients. Bad Shilajit far surpasses ugly Shilajit in terms of health benefits. Smoke may be the biggest variable in the traditional method of purifying Shilajit. We must remember that outside of the low mountain areas of India, Himalayan Shilajit is harvested over 14,000 feet and 9 to 12,000 feet in Altai and the Rocky Mountains. However, unlike the Rocky Mountains of the US, roads are rare and modern infrastructure is virtually non-existent. This means that cooking of Shilajit requires wood. That often pungent, nose-inspiring smokiness of natural Aatashi Shilajit, or cooked Shilajit, can be attributed to the wood used. The amount of smoke infused into the Shilajit and the type of wood used dictates your Shilajit's product profile. If your Shilajit's flavor and odor profile from the same supplier changes from time to time, the wood smoke used in the purification is often the cause. Generally speaking, traditional Shilajit purification has variables that can be very, very inconsistent. Traditionally prepared Shilajit can also have higher levels of heavy metal toxicity. But why? As we've proven with testing that natural Shilajit does not come with heavy metal issues. Well, if using wood for heat, the smoke can contain high levels of certain undesirable elements. And remember too that in our modern era, our wood is laced with aluminum, strontium, barium, and other elements that were not airborne 75 years ago. We also believe that the heavy use of aluminum containers and metal scrapers add to the elevated levels of aluminum found in traditionally prepared Shilajit. It's not in every case, but it's in more than a few cases. And the use of heated plastics can also add elements that we really don't desire. Bad Shilajit also contains a significant amount of undissolved solids. Shilajit, when pure, is 100% water soluble. In our testing of 14 suppliers of Himalayan Shilajit, 12 had no less than 10% solids. The solids are typically elements of sand, quartz, and unknown organic materials. This is not to say that the solids are harmful, but as a buyer, one is definitely not getting 100% usable product. And unknown ingredients are, well, unknown. Good Shilajit is 100% nature-made and harvested in the high mountains around the world. Good Shilajit is purified to contain less than 1% undissolved solids, uses a controlled water source, contains no additives of any kind, and is always heavy metal safe. Notwithstanding the different types of raw Shilajit rock, such as copper, gold, silver, black, etc., there are two types of good Shilajit. They are the steamed Shilajit and the raw, sun-dried Shilajit. Steamed Shilajit is a more recent, one could say Western-influenced Shilajit processing method using indirect heat, well below boiling levels, to either speed the maceration process or to fully control the dehydration process to paste. Steamed Shilajit, when properly purified and processed, preserves the living elements found in raw Shilajit. Aftabi, or sun-dried Shilajit, is the most desired in Ayurveda and traditional medicine. In the Himalayas, Aftabi is 4 to 5 times more costly than the boiled Shilajit, and generally 2 times more costly than steamed Shilajit. This fact implies what we can easily surmise, that raw Shilajit is the most powerful type of purified Shilajit in terms of health benefits. Aftabi requires between 6 to 10 weeks to purify and cure to paste. Steam Shilajit processing requires 2 to 6 weeks depending on when the steam is applied. One can purify both Shilajit in a matter of hours. This labor, no matter how cheap as compared to the West, adds to the cost of production. And when you see prices online so low for Shilajit, it's not difficult to conclude that 1, my Shilajit is either fake, bastardized, and definitely boiled. And 2, it cannot be Aftabi or steamed, as the lowest wholesale prices for either cannot support such low retail prices. And now on to the question, can I easily tell the difference between the good, the bad, and the ugly Shilajit? Mostly, yes. Smell. Earth-made natural Shilajit stinks. Yeah, that's right. Good and bad Shilajit is downright pungent and can make any first-time user recoil. Proper Shilajit will have a differing degree of the smell of ammonia, a bit urine-like. If your Shilajit does not have these attributes, odds are likely that your Shilajit is not real and potentially fake manufactured coal extraction. If your Shilajit has a strong smoky odor, odds are really good that you have real Shilajit. The quality may not be the best, but you are at least getting real Shilajit, most likely processed in a mountain village. Taste. Real Shilajit is bitter, acrid. It's not tasty in any regard. If your Shilajit states that it's pure 100% Shilajit and has any sweetness and flavor, you can be 100% sure that your Shilajit is not pure. That something such as glucose, fruit paste, and the like has definitely been added. If they lie on the label, yeah. Good suppliers are a minority, but they are out there and well worth supporting with your purchases. Hardness and color. If your Shilajit paste becomes like concrete or is delivered that way, odds are pretty good that your product is not pure, that it contains sand or earth particulates that make it and turn it into concrete. If your Shilajit paste is brown versus black, it's also not well purified. When pure, good Shilajit hardens, but it will soften quickly with a bit of warm heat applied to the jar externally. And a bit of external steam really softens it quickly. Cemented Shilajit is simply not pure. Price. A bit of simple math can help us know ugly Shilajit quite quickly. Any big e-commerce reseller of Shilajit, such as on Amazon, requires a 6 to 8 times markup to be profitable. Why? It's really expensive to sell on Amazon. If a 1-ounce jar of Shilajit paste sells for $30, one can calculate that the reseller purchased their stock with custom retail packaging shipped across the Pacific Ocean to the US for less than $4 per each item. We now have a standardized processing facility in Skardu. Even with labor being so very cheap compared to our standards, it is not possible to deliver any real Shilajit at the average prices sold online. So my advice, don't buy the cheapest Shilajit, period. And definitely research the more expensive ones. Full disclosure, my name is Samio Jung K. I founded Colorado Shilajit Company in 2019 and believe that we are the first ever USA company to harvest, purify, and package USA Nature Made Shilajit. Even with over 15 years of knowledge base making custom homeopathic tinctures for pro and WADA tested athletes, that's the World Anti-Doping Association, I will be the first to admit that our first batches of Shilajit were categorically bad. But we live, we learn, and we do better. We have heavily invested in testing and researching Shilajit, including sponsoring dark field microscopy studies of first-time Shilajit users. Yeah, very interesting. Reviewing the living blood after Shilajit intake. Working with practitioners to modernize Shilajit dosing protocols. Field researching of Shilajit recharge rates of Shilajit deposits in Colorado and in Utah. We have spent many thousands of dollars on testing Shilajit from many areas of the world. I made this video for 3 primary reasons. Shilajit is, I believe, the one natural substance that everyone should use. It makes you healthier and stronger in ways no other one substance can. Secondly, ugly Shilajit is not a healthy choice. Cheap, yes, but ugly coal extracted Shilajit will energize you, but it is not a true healing agent, and often it can be harmful. Lastly, lies suck. We have all been increasingly gaslighted with so much fakery and lies, and in the health arena, lies should not ever be tolerated. 2 years ago, I, along with my Pakistani partner, Dr. Imran, established East-West Shilajit Company for the purpose of wholesaling good Shilajit worldwide. We are setting up modern processing facilities in Skardu, and in the meantime, we process all of our Himalayan Shilajit in Colorado, USA. May you, we, all live long and prosper.